Raul Torres, thank you so much for joining me on New Mexico in Focus this week.
Thanks for having me.
As we just heard, you want to take over the litigation of the landmark Yazzie Martinez case. You told my reporter Bryant Furlow last month that you have broad authority to do this. Can you explain to our audience what that authority is and how it works?
Well, actually, before I get into the authority that the Attorney General's office has, I think one of the things that's really important for people to understand is the role that I think the Attorney General's office needs to play in being an advocate for people that frankly don't have the resources or the opportunity to advocate for themselves. And it's really that recognition of that fundamental duty that has drawn me to try and be more of an advocate for the least advantaged. And that starts, in my judgment, with children. As you mentioned, the Attorney General's office is responsible for representing the state, public officers, individuals, agencies, whenever they are a party to litigation. But in other parts of the country, there is a broader understanding of the role of the Attorney General's office that doesn't just place it as a de facto defense attorney for state agencies. It actually plays and needs to play a much broader role in protecting the public interest. And so when we took the action that we did with respect to reasserting ourselves and our control over the Yazzie Martinez litigation, it was in recognition of the fact that we have both an obligation to represent the Public Education Department, the state of New Mexico, but also an obligation and a constitutional and I believe a moral obligation to try and stand up and make sure that we are abiding by court orders and that we are ensuring that everyone, including New Mexico's children, have access to the resources that they need.
Okay. So you told Bryant that you were frustrated by the lack of progress in the Yazzie Martinez case. Yeah. Can you say a little more about, were you personally frustrated? You mentioned moral obligation. Can you maybe go into that a little more, why you felt it was necessary to do this?
Well, I come from a family on my father's side in particular where there really wasn't English spoken in the home until they went to school, and it was education, it was public education that allowed my family, my father's family, to be lifted out of rural poverty in New Mexico. And so I don't just look at the Yazzie litigation, the Martinez litigation, as something that needs to be examined from the lens of an attorney, but I think about it in terms of what it means for so many other families in our state, both in urban settings and also in rural communities, where they need access to high quality education as a ladder of opportunity to lift their families up. And the Yazzie Martinez litigation is really groundbreaking. It is a really consequential action. And quite frankly, had I been in this role earlier, I probably would have assumed the role of the plaintiff. This action was brought by the Center on Law and Poverty. It's something that frankly, the Attorney General's office, advocating on behalf of the rights of children, should seriously consider its role and its obligation to vindicate those rights. And so, as you know, Judge Singleton issued an order over 5 years ago, which clearly identified constitutional violations, inadequate resources, and a fundamental failure on the part of the state to give equal access primarily to indigenous students, Native American and English language learners. And in that order set out some broad mandates that the state was required to fulfill. And look, there has been progress, there's been increased funding, and I think the legislature and the governor deserve credit for putting more money into public education. That said, 5 years on, we are still very far from satisfying our constitutional obligation to make sure that every kid in this state has the opportunity that my family got so many generations ago, because we no longer have the excuse anymore of not having enough money. We've certainly been blessed with lots of oil and gas revenue and budget surpluses in the last few years. The question now is what kind of deeper commitments we're going to be able to make on the part of the state to make sure that everyone has a fair and equal shot at rising in our society. And so that's what brought me to the litigation.
Okay, so assuming that you do take over the litigation, what can the public expect to see as far as the speed, the philosophy, personnel? And please be specific so we kind of can understand what you mean.
Well, so the first step in this process was to sit down with the plaintiffs and try to understand their perspective. We met with the Yazzie legal team. And they indicated to us, they're now in post-judgment discovery. They're gathering new information. And they have expressed frustration about the lack of a specific plan. I mean, that's fundamentally what is missing in this. There have been some aspirational sort of reports that have been put out by the state, but there is not a clear roadmap for progress, hitting certain milestones by certain dates. Now, I come to this as the son of not only a career prosecutor, but a career public school teacher. And I know enough to know that I am not an education expert, but I also understand that we have expertise in this state about how to develop measurable metrics, whether it means new resources for the amount of funding that goes into classrooms, the kind of transportation needs that rural communities are often hit with, the kind of supports, technology that needs to be deployed to these districts. And my role in this is to try to create a framework to get the parties talking again. One of the saddest things that I learned from the Yazzie team is there's been no effective communication between the plaintiffs and the state. What the state has been engaged in for the last several years is trying to do everything that it can to go to court, dismiss the case, and get itself out. And what it needs to be doing is figuring out concrete ways to meet its obligations.
Speaking of the state's, kind of orientation to this, I mean, the governor has said that, you should just focus on accountability of school districts. You shouldn't have any part of this kind of litigation. Sure. What happens if you guys don't agree over you're taking over the litigation? Who gets to be the decider on what happens?
I'm still hopeful that we can have productive conversations with the governor's office and the administration, and that we can help them understand what our constitutional authority actually is. It's pretty clearly laid out in statute. I would hope that we wouldn't spend unnecessary time and energy on the front end battling over whether or not I have this authority. It's pretty clear that we do. And it's also pretty clear that not enough progress has been made. And so my rationale for getting involved in this is that the legal strategy that the state has adopted up to this point, as I said, has been focused on getting out from under court supervision, and what it needs to be focused on is compliance, constitutional compliance.
Is it going to be a case of like your attorneys are going to talk to my attorneys and work this out? Is that how that works?
Well, the first thing is that the Attorney General's office has the exclusive authority to represent the state. I mean, that's the job at its most basic level. It has that opportunity and that authority. If it becomes necessary to test the limits of that authority, I mean, that is something we will certainly do if we have to. But again, my hope is that we start having conversations. What's been going on is the Yazzie plaintiffs have been taking depositions of people in the public education department, and as I understand it, most of the depositions of the people that they identified as being responsible for implementing Yazzie Martinez are no longer even with the department. And so we got to get out of the lawyering business and move this back to a place where we're actually in the problem-solving business.
So speaking of not agreeing, I mean, you've came out publicly when to say that you would not defend the governor's gun ban in court. I mean, is this just a case of you two playing politics? Is this what this is?
Look, we have an obligation. I have an obligation to make sure that the state lives up to judicial orders, right? Judge Singleton made it very clear in that order that the state had failed to meet its constitutional obligations. And what is clear is that, someone needs to step up on behalf of the state of New Mexico and start advocating for these children and not advocating for agency heads and people who are not making progress. I would be more than happy if I saw sufficient progress in this case and the plaintiffs could come before the court and say, yes, the state is acting in good faith and we're delivering on these things, to leave that aside. But I'm not going to stand aside while children are not getting the education that they're constitutionally entitled to.